Hi, mystery writers. This is Mystery Fix, where we talk about writing mysteries in the best way possible. And today we're going to talk about first person point of view, getting right inside your sleuth's head. And there's nothing like first person point of view to get your readers inside, going along with your detective, because readers who like mysteries like solving the puzzle, and they like solving the puzzle right along with your detective. So in the first person point of view, the narrator tells the story directly to the reader. There's no third person overview. The character speaks about himself or herself and shares what they are experiencing. So there's just such a sense of immediacy for your readers, and it creates a deep connection when the sleuth tells the story, because there's right away they have their thoughts and emotions, and it gets them truly involved with your character. Okay, so traditionally, first-person point of view stories are told from one point of view, and that's your narrator. As some writers, I just want to point this out, some writers use multiple characters, each telling the story from a personal point of view. So multiple first-person points of view allows you as a writer to expand the views of characters for the readers. I would say the most traditional one is that there's the first-person point of view of your detective and the first-person point of view of the antagonist, the killer. So let's take a look at some of the advantages of first-person point of view. And I think I've pointed out already the very most important one, which is that the reader gets inside the narrator's head immediately. And you have the advantage of portraying intimate thoughts and emotions of your narrator. In each moment the narrator feels, your reader feels. And you deliver all the narrator's senses of sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. It's super immediate, and it's really easy to get your reader involved with your sleuth. And because your reader is inside the narrator's head, they experience the emotions of your character. They experience their hopes, their despair, and their frustration, and their love. And there's maximum emotional impact because they're right there with your sleuth, going along. I think that's just the strongest advantage of first person. So you're creating a sense of empathy with that character through the reactions of your character, the reactions to situations, the reactions to other characters, and readers understand the character's motivation behind their actions because they have access to your narrator's thinking. And whether the narrator's logic is right or wrong, the actions make sense to the reader because they've been inside your narrator's head. The first person voice also gives the story a clear identity. So you submerge your reader into the world that you create, and it's all through the sensory experience and the thoughts and reactions of that narrator. So it just points back to that immediacy for your reader. One of the other things which all writers struggle with is how do you get exposition into your story without just this giant info dump of information? And first person narrative allows your readers to get that information through your sleuth. So you can hide that exposition in your narrator's thoughts because they're going to have thoughts about situations like class structure or social inequalities that are integral to your world and integral to the narration. So as a writer, you're spared the narrative trap of info dump to familiarize your readers with your sleuth's milieu. That's another advantage of first person narration. Another one is because everything is told from the point of view of this one character, your narrator doesn't have to be reliable. The story's told from that narrator's point of view, and the narrator can lie or misdirect the reader in a way that third-person narration can't do, because we're right inside that character's head. So, although an unreliable narrator doesn't work well in a traditional mystery, an unreliable narrator can tell a great crime story, drawing the reader into their personal view of all the circumstances. So you want to keep clear about what your genre is. It's really tough for mysteries, an unreliable narrator, but it works well in crime. And then, although this isn't very popular in fiction right now, the narrator doesn't have to be the protagonist. Joseph Conrad comes to mind. The narrator has a viewpoint of what's going on that tells the story that's happening. I'm drawing a blank right now on a contemporary author who uses this, but it is another way of telling the story in the first person. Okay, so those are some great advantages, all that immediacy and the that sense of empathy that your reader has with your narrator when you tell in the first person, and get all their thoughts and reactions and their senses all in there. But there are drawbacks to first person. So if you're making a decision about whether you're telling in the first person or the third person, you want to consider these drawbacks for first person. So the major one, of course, is it's only one person's point of view and it's limited. And because the reader experiences the world only through the character's eyes, as a writer, you cannot share other characters' thoughts or feelings. There's just no way. There's no head hopping at all. So although you can describe the physical appearance of your character through other characters' reactions to their physical appearance, they may be put off by your character's height or size, or drawn to their way of speech. We only get that as a reaction to the story that your narrator is telling. So other characters can periodically respond to a physical attribute of your narrator, but there's no like full description of your character. So as a writer, you can you can do this in bits and pieces. Just don't have your narrator look in the mirror. Just don't do it. Okay? Don't do it. Don't have your narrator look in the mirror and describe all their physical attributes. It's just too corny to believe, and you're actually going to put readers off. So the other drawback is really presenting the big picture, because we only have that one point of view. You can't give the character too much knowledge. I know beginning writers can have this happen where they give their the main character more knowledge than would really happen, and oftentimes can give away the whole story by doing that, and then the readers are just gone. So that's another disadvantage of the first person. There's no big picture, no big picture of the story. So because especially in a mystery, you want to avoid giving away that big picture by giving your narrator too much knowledge. So if you're doing the first person and you're working with your sleuth, make sure that your readers are challenged by your narrator's lack of knowledge, so that those obstacles that you create and the surprises are really surprises. That's what keeps readers turning those pages. So the biggest advantage is that personal relationship with your sleuth. And Philip Kerr's Burnie Gunter is a great example of first-person narrative. He's set in Nazi Germany, and Burnie often offers his opinions and deals with the consequences of his outspoken interaction while solving the crime as a private detective. It's very possible to create an intensely likable sleuth in first-person point of view. So if you decide to tell your mystery in first person, know that you will work with limitations. I think that's the first choice that you have. But on the other hand, you have the opportunity to build a strong emotional bond with your reader. That is a very, very powerful. Not only for getting your readers to go through and finish the story, but to read other stories. They just really, really like your sleuth. And once again, I want to say, if you're trying to decide whether you're going to use first person or third person, try writing a section of your book in first person and try writing in third person and see how it feels to you as a writer. What works for some writers just doesn't work for other writers. You're going to be inside your narrator's head all the time. It's super intense writing. So I hope that clarifies some of the points about using first person point of view in your mystery. And I'd love to hear from you about how things are going with your mystery writing. Feel free to get in touch at any time. And then I wanted to let you know that I have some interviews coming up, and I'll be talking with an audiobook narrator about how to work with your mystery narrator. We'll be giving some tips about creating an audiobook and how to work with your narrator to come up with the best audiobook narration possible. And then I'm also going to be interviewing a British crime writer, and we're going to be talking about tips for creating your mystery. So I'm looking forward to that. Please be sure to subscribe and then click that little bell so you'll get the notifications and you won't miss an episode of Mystery Fix. Okay, thank you very much for being here, and we'll talk soon, and happy writing.